Welcome to Conversations with CSG, the global talent podcast from CSG Talent. We interview influential figures across a wide range of innovative and impactful industry sectors worldwide, discussing career journeys, overcoming challenge, achieving success, diversity, and much more. I'm sure you'll see value in a lot of the topics we cover. So here it is. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Conversations with CSG. Today we're joined by Kristin Lied, the CEO of Cardiolife. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us today on our podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
More than welcome. How are you? You well?
Very good. All good.
Excellent. Well, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, with a background in strategic consulting and communication, what inspired you to shift your focus to the medtech industry and lead an AI-driven company like Cardiolife? And what attracted you to join them early on in the startup phase?
It is a big shift, or it was a big shift when I joined, a little bit over 3 years ago. That was after more than 2 decades in consulting and helping companies, including some in medtech actually, but grow in scale. But I got the chance to join Cardiolife, and it was something I couldn't say no to. I think it was maybe the perfect combination of the right timing, the right people, the founders, and a very powerful mission. Heart disease is the #1 killer in the world. And by using AI to improve cardiac care, what Cardiolife do by providing faster and more consistent ECG diagnosis, we are actually helping to save lives, which is a very meaningful job to have. So I'm very happy to be able to work with and for them.
Well, I recall when you first reached out to us and we had a conversation about the business and what it stood for. One of the things that you talked to me openly about was the fact that you had this partnership-driven approach about working with cardiologists to improve, their processes and efficiencies. But actually, one of the things that really stood out for me was the fact that you talked a lot about making sure there was a greater patient experience. I guess what I'd like to learn more about now is the plans for Cardiolife and its future. What's the next phase of its growth?
Yeah, I think as of now, we are MDR certified and have the CE mark and are ready for full commercial deployment in Europe. We have a very active sales team and experience a very strong traction through both direct sales and partnerships. And we're currently in process of finalizing distribution agreements in several markets in Europe, and seeing also a growing inbound interest. But as you asked about looking ahead, and that is very much where our head is, we have a very aggressive roadmap. We are aiming to move from the diagnostics to the prediction for our software, which will mean, or it will have a huge impact on heart health. And we're also aiming to expand towards the global market. So that is the 2 main things on our roadmap ahead.
And how you grow, how important do you feel it is for you to be surrounded by the right people? And I'd be interested to learn more about the kind of challenges that you've encountered, ensuring that you've got the right team and skills in place to support that growth.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, in a startup, I think people are everything. I mean, people are everything in each and every business, obviously. With a startup or a scale up, you can have maybe the best technology in the world, but without the right team, it won't scale. Building this medtech team means, at least for our part, combining a very deep clinical expertise, strong tech talent, people that can navigate complex regulations, and others who can drive partnerships and sales. And maybe the most important thing, or most challenging thing, is that to have these people with all these competences, they also need to have the personality that thrives within a fast-moving environment. We are a pioneer in our industry, and everything changes all the time. The change is the constant in a way, and it's not easy to find that mix of the right competences and the right personalities. But when you do, the energy is incredible, and I think we've been very lucky so far.
I'm not sure it's luck. I think at the end of the day, you have a business that is exciting. It's going through some significant change and significant growth. And by doing that, you're attracting some incredible talent. I know that when we've supported you, actually the challenge hasn't been about trying to find people who want to work for you. That's been a simple part. It's trying to find people that have that right fit. And they're actually on board with the journey that you're wanting to go on. And that cultural piece, as well as having people that are fully engaged with, I guess, it's not really about driving the business forward. It's been having that foresight and understanding the journey that you're about to go on and being able to keep up with it because it's been such rapid growth.
Absolutely.
But it's great. You've obviously worked across a number of industries previously and taking on many different strategic leadership roles and some advisory positions as well. Could you share with us any key moments in your career that have helped shape your leadership style? Because particularly as you've moved into these executive roles, what traits do you believe are the most important to be successful as an effective leader?
Yeah, I believe you learn from every experience, both the good and the bad throughout. But I think that if I had to highlight one thing that has stuck with me or that is something I believe in is that you would think it's easy to lead others the way you like to be led yourself. But people are different and they need different things and they're motivated by different things. And to understand what truly drives and engage people, you need to ask and listen and adapt. And it takes time, I think. Also, curiosity and maybe a dash of empathy also to be able to bring out the best in people.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think also as a leader, when you're trying to build a business as you are, you've got a lot of responsibility to do the right thing in terms of making sure you bring the right talent to the party, that you're supporting your customers in the right way, but at the same time, cut challenges, particularly in your industry. There's a number of challenges I know that you've faced because you work in such a highly regulated environment. How do you navigate those challenges and how do you find, resolutions?
Yeah, that is correct. MedTech is highly regulated and regulations and certifications, that is essential. I mean, it protects patients and each and every one of us that will be using the software or getting in contact with medications or whatever within that industry. But I see that a lot of people also can see or experience that regulations might slow innovation. We like to address that, or it has been our strategy to integrate regulation or integrating the regulatory thinking into our processes to try to have the compliance as a part of innovation rather than something that blocks it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
I think another challenge, maybe within the AI field as such, is also getting access to high quality data to train and develop the best possible algorithms. That's also why we, from the start, have been aiming to build partnerships that will give us the access to the diverse and real life, real world data across cardiac patterns that we need to develop our product.
Understood. And it's improving all the time. So the medtech and STEM, fields are often seen by many as being quite male dominated. This is something that I was really interested to hear your opinion on, because what's your experience been like as a female leader in this space? Have you encountered, unique challenges or indeed opportunities?
Yeah, this is not something I focus a lot on in my daily life myself. Maybe because I'm from Norway and equalities kind of have good roots in our country, but it can be seen both as a challenge and as an opportunity, as you touch upon. Sometimes you may feel you need to prove yourself a little bit more, but also it gives a chance to stand out and maybe also bring a different perspective that I feel can be valued as well. And
well, I guess even though you don't necessarily focus on it, which is great, and nor should you, it is certainly something that we do see in the market, and there are significantly less female CEOs, specifically in your field and in a technical field. So you are, whether you feel it, believe it, or like it, you are very much a role model for many. And I think that that's something that, speaking to you today, there'll be many people listening and wanting to understand and learn from your experience and take away, your opinions and views on how you've done what you've done and how you've achieved what you've achieved. Who were your role models, and how important do you think mentorship is in terms of having a relevant role model in fostering the next generation of women leaders in STEM?
I have had a lot of role models in the sense of having people I learn from, not just within the industry or within business even, but across different topics and skills. It can be people in totally different areas. It can be within art or literature or whatever. But I think the key is to stay curious and learn as much as you can from people in general. And I think the main thing is don't be afraid to ask for advice, feedback, or input. I think most people are more than willing to share their knowledge and will be happy to do so. And that's how you grow and learn. And I think that is, I still look to a lot of people and ask for advice and input all the time. And I think that's something you can't stop doing if you want to grow and be better.
No, you're right. Again, totally concur. What's evident, even talking to you now, you're a very effective communicator. And I know that many businesses struggle with communication, or that's certainly something that we hear from our clients, and we hear it even in our own business. You had a strong background in strategic communication. I guess for us, sometimes trying to understand where people are misaligned or where they're not entirely sure what it is that you're trying to communicate with us internally or externally. How important do you feel it is for leaders to manage the communication change effectively? And how do you go about it within your business?
Yeah, this is very close to my heart in that sense. I think leadership and building a culture is all about communication. And especially also change, which is for many organizations one of the hardest things that they go through. And for us as a startup or scale up, that is, as I mentioned before, something that is a constant, the change. And I think how it's managed is critical to succeeding. And a leadership team or a board can't just set ambitious goals. They need to be communicated in a way that allows people to align and collaborate and deliver effectively. And that means that people don't just need information, people telling you something. They need to understand why. Why is this the goal? Why is this the direction? And they need to see how they fit into this bigger picture and how they can contribute. And this is ongoing. I'm sure we in our organization isn't good enough either, but I think this is all about like creating trust and engagement, and also it is about having everyone knowing where we're going.
Yeah.
Own both the strategy and the goal.
So that starts at the top and then cascades down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good. Alongside your role at Cardiolife, I'm obviously aware that you're an advisory board member for something that's quite personal and close to you, which is Human for Humans. Some people may or may not be familiar with that, but it's where the vision is to fight human trafficking and secure safe and adequate mental health care to all those affected by human trafficking. Tell me a little bit about Human for Humans and how you actually got involved initially.
Yeah, it's a small organization. It is founded by a Portuguese psychologist, and she has been living in Norway for a while. When I met her, she explained her work. It's like also more of a matter or a topic that isn't much talked about. For me, it is a way also for me to use my knowledge and network mainly to help her with her strategic ambitions and also to help with the funding of this mission that, in my opinion, truly matters, is giving dignity and hope to people who have faced, unimaginable change. I think also it's something that people in different industries should be aware that trafficking is a topic that is much more common across industries and borders than many people know. And it's a way to give back, also to contribute to a case that I see that is important.
Absolutely. Hopefully this podcast, albeit a relatively short one, will just help raise a little bit more awareness, because it was something that was new to me when you first shared with me what you were involved with, and I think it's another inspiring part of your character and what you do. I think it's exceptional, and I applaud you for it. In fact, moving on to that point, in terms of being inspiring, because I remember coming away from first meeting you and I was inspired by what you're doing and what you've achieved to date and the direction that you're taking the business. And when I look around the younger generations, the people that are now coming into your industry particularly, I'd like to know from your perspective, what's the one piece of advice that you might give to someone, a young entrepreneur that's looking to get into the health technology space?
That's a big topic. I would say don't underestimate the complexity, but don't let it scare you either. I would say that health tech is one of the most rewarding spaces to be in because the impact is so direct. And I think also we need technology and new solutions to help us solve the challenges we face within the health sector. I think build partnerships with clinicians, understand regulatory landscape from the start, and never lose sight of the patient. I think if you go into this industry with the patient at the center, you come in with the right motivation. And I think that the rest and the strategy behind that becomes clearer if that is your focus.
It feels very much like in your industry specifically, it's more about finding solutions, solving problems, helping people. The motivation is very different to that of some other industries, which might be more financially driven. So no, that's great, and I'm sure there'll be some young entrepreneurs who will be listening to this at some point. That'll be a big takeaway for them. So closing question for me, we're almost there. It's a question we've always asked our podcast guests. What's the most valuable piece of advice that you've ever received throughout your career?
Gosh, yeah. Give it a try.
Give it a try.
What is the worst that can happen, actually?
Well,
yeah.
It's can-do attitude.
Yeah, or at least push yourself to try.
Yeah.
That is, if you have good people with you, I think a lot is possible, and if you fail, at least you tried.
Yeah, absolutely. And whilst this isn't a question, I know from, again, my experience of working with you, the one thing that also stood out is your unbelievable work ethic. The times that we've had conversations that have been incredibly late at night, very early in the morning, I know that the work and the effort that you put in, it's almost like this isn't a job. This is something you're just so incredibly personally passionate about and you want the business to be a success, but for the reasons we talked about earlier and about actually helping solve a problem. And I think that in itself is hugely inspiring. And the thing that I took away most from when I first met you, the passion and the enthusiasm and the work ethic, is something that a lot of people, particularly young people, will take away from listening to you today. So thank you ever so much indeed. I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I would also add that this has been both inspiring, as you said, discussing with you and your team, and also the way that you understood our mission and what we needed when you helped us recruiting more people. So that has been valuable to us as well.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Conversations with CSG. I'm sure many professionals will relate and see value in the insights shared. Stay tuned for further insights from industry-leading professionals on our podcast, Conversations with CSG. Thanks for listening.